I could have 50 women pregnant at the same time.
Alpha male podcasts are all the rage these days. They're the most popular genre on men's YouTube. For better or for worse, it's up to you. I think it's kind of a mixed bag of good and bad depending on which podcast you're watching. I came across this video of this definitely kind of feminist girl reacting to these alpha male podcasts, and the dichotomy of a more feminist girl reacting to these alpha male podcasts was hilarious, so I thought we could watch it together and see, if she's spitting facts or not. And spoiler alert, some of the alpha male podcasts are a little bad when the feminist girl starts making a little bit of sense. However, like all things on the internet, there are extremes to which it's taken to, and sometimes it can become a little bit of a caricature, it can become a little bit cringe. So we're gonna laugh at some of the cringe. I know, as a member of Base Zeus, I've contributed to the rise of this cringe myself, but let's sit back, relax, and enjoy. I do want to make it clear though, like I said, there's nothing wrong with trying to increase your value as a man. In fact, I don't see what else there is to do except increase your value as a man, as a person, in order to get more value out of life. So this is not me dunking on the idea of trying to become high value. Of course not. I've made fucking 400 videos on it with Zeus, just to make that clear. And as an FYI, she was talking a lot in the beginning. We didn't need to hear all that. So now we're gonna go straight to the video.
I could have 18, 30, 40, 50 women pregnant at the same time. As a female, you can only be pregnant by one man at a time.
Why is there a ding sound effect after every sentence in this edit? Is it like a checklist? I think women are nothing more than human incubators. I think women's value depreciates like a timeshare. I think I should be able to blow my loads whenever and wherever I want.
And further, it benefits you as...
I know it's a little extreme. What he's basically doing is he's making an evolutionary case for why men should not be monogamous. He's saying a man can impregnate multiple women by his ability to impregnate multiple women without needing to carry the burden of childbirth, while women can only carry one at a time. So if you want to look at it from a purely caveman evolutionary standpoint, he has somewhat of a point. It's just funny when you say it, in modern society and the way things are structured now. I get where he's coming from. It's just a little funny.
Woman to stick to that man, because the more you get pregnant, the more your value declines.
The more you get pregnant, the more your value declines. It's not inflation. Like, this isn't business econ 101. In what world does going through the sacrifice and pain of...
This kind of doesn't make sense, and it's kind of a caricature of what actually goes on. For example, if I'm with a girlfriend, a wife, a baby mama, if I get her pregnant and she brings my child to the world, her value to me does not decrease. If anything, her value to me increases, because she's the mother of my child and I want and need her to help me raise my child. So if anything, a woman who I would choose to have a child with, who knows, maybe I have kids, you never know. Maybe I got some kids already. You don't know. You don't know about my private life. Young Mr. TYB, Big Daddy Benji, I might have a couple kids, No, I'm just kidding. But if I decide I'm going to have a child with a woman, it's because her value to me is extremely high, and I'm willing to increase her value to me by letting her raise my child, by letting her bring my child into the world. It's a cooperative effort. It needs me in order for it to function. So although I see what he's trying to say, that, hey, if you date a woman who already has a kid, it comes with its own set of issues. I can totally understand that. You have to deal with the ex-husband. Maybe he's a fucking psycho. Maybe you have to pay for the new kid. I can totally see where he's coming from with that. But I think it's kind of a amateur read on this situation, because you better believe if I have a child with another woman, she is probably one of the most valuable women to me in my life, because she's the mother of my child, and I want my child to grow up with their mother in a secure environment, and they need their mother for that, because women are certainly 110% better at raising children, at nurturing children than men are, and that's just fact.
Of creating an entirely new human being in your body, take away from your value. Hey boss, I just invented and created a fully functioning flying car. Oh wow, hey, that's pretty impressive. Okay, great. So I can get that raise that we talked about? No. No, I liked you better before you invented that car, actually. But you told me to make it. I know, but you are no longer a valuable employee to me. Would you? You're fired. Come on, please, I have a family. I don't care. My son is unemployed. He just started a podcast. Oh, really? Yes, he did.
these commentary channels, they kind of always have these corny skits. I don't know who laughs at these corny skits on these commentary channels. I know these commentary channels are aimed at women, young girls especially, who are just scrolling on their phone on YouTube all day. I never find these corny skits with, you know, the cheesy music and the cheesy effects funny. I just think it's low grade humor. But I mean, the point she's making is true, is that once you do bring in your literal child into the world, that's a huge amount of value set over for you. And this isn't a knock at Fresh and Fit. It's more a knock on what this guy they have on their podcast is saying, because I mean, it is a gross oversimplification of what's actually going on.
You're getting all those girls dirty. That's why they're dirty. That makes them
No. I got this right here. Women preserve their value, men create it. Let me explain.
Exactly.
Guys care about a girl's past. A girl cares about a guy's future. Just like if your boyfriend.
I care about your past.
Hold up.
Oh, careful there. You almost let her speak for a second. Does moving your arms a lot make what you're saying true?
This is one of the most commonly repeated and harped on phrases in the Alpha Male Podcast Red Pill space. And it has a kernel of truth in the sense that women preserve their value. What he means by that, and what people typically mean, is that if a woman is born attractive, and even if she's not, a woman, because she can bring a child into the world, and because women have always been valued as childbearing assets, right? If we're thinking about this from an evolutionary standpoint, he is correct that women need to preserve their value, because if a woman is born attractive, that is inherent value. Beauty is valuable. Men need to create their value in the sense that nobody cares about men unless they are productive members of society, unless they add value to society in the sense of their character. However, in modern society, things are a little bit more complicated than that. Women can join the workforce. Women can provide value to society in other ways beyond just their looks. However, the difference between a man and a woman in most cases is that a 21-year-old very attractive woman is going to be seen as way more valuable than a 21-year-old attractive male, just by the sheer fact that she's a woman, and men chase women, and women typically do not chase men. This is just the way our caveman evolutionary biology works. So the point he's making is half true, half not, because reality is a lot more complex than it was in the caveman days. However, yes, beauty is inherently valuable. It's why we try to improve our looks. We know deep down that beauty is valuable. That's why we like being in nature. This is why we like acquiring beautiful things, and the company of a beautiful woman is why people watch these alpha male podcasts in the first place. So to say that, oh, women preserve their value and men need to create it, sure, but that's how it's literally always been since the beginning of time. So to say this is a point of something to complain about or as this groundbreaking thing is not really true, because we inherently know this since the beginning of time. This is why when one tribe would come over and conquer another, they would slaughter all the men and keep the women alive, because women were inherently valuable for their ability to bring children and because of their beauty, right? The men, not so much, unless they could provide value in some other way. It's not groundbreaking stuff. I know these guys on the podcast sometimes, they're like, oh my God, we just discovered the greatest thing since sliced bread. We just made this groundbreaking philosophical discovery. And it's like, no, you kind of just pointed out what everyone knows subconsciously forever. But I digress.
Because I didn't know about this crazy life hack. You're telling me all this time people would have been listening to me if I just played an invisible drum set?
I got this right here.
I care about your past.
Hold up. A lot of girls want to seek financial security from their husband or boyfriend, as they should. But all we ask for, you don't sleep around 50 dudes.
Actually, I don't know your name, but I'm going to assume that it's Tyler. We don't really need you for much anymore. Most of us have to go out and get a job or a career so that we can make money. We don't really need to trade our hand in marriage for a goat and 2 sacks of wheat anymore. I think in Tyler's mind, the only thing he has to offer in a relationship would be money.
Financial security.
Because he can't carry a conversation with a woman without cutting her off every 3 seconds.
I care about your past.
Hold up.
And if I had to guess, hasn't been in the vicinity of a vagina since the day he was born. Basically, the point that they're trying to make in this clip is that women become dirty after having the dirty and squirties with too many people. But they still want women to continue to have the dirty and squirties with them, because for some reason they have the same exact mentality as a dog who wants you to throw the ball.
Again, none of this is particularly groundbreaking. The fact that women see men in their evolutionary caveman role as providing and protecting, and men see women as needing protection and resources provided for them so they can raise children, etc. If we're talking about the old school caveman days, none of this is profoundly new, but this oversimplification of this phenomenon is something that's super, super common in the red pill manosphere space. These guys would have you think that everyone is just a walking and interchangeable resume, and that women are just trying to pick out the best resume they can possibly find, when the truth is, reality is never that complex. I'm sure everyone knows broke guys with nothing going on in their lives who get plenty of women. Me, for example, I was super successful in dating when I was in college, and I was broke. I had literally zero money. I lived in a tiny ass room that's like half the size of the current room I'm in, that literally only fit my bed. And I dated just fine in college. I had no issues, no money, nothing. However, this idea that women only judge you on how much money you have and how high value you are is different, because what's valuable to each woman is contextual to her. Women will very often leave a guy who is higher value for their toxic ex-boyfriend who they have a long history with. Why? Because that history, all of those years of emotions are valuable to them. More valuable than a guy who might be richer, more handsome, better game, etc. The past and the emotions she shared with this previous ex-boyfriend is more valuable than to everything this new guy provides, because she's only known this guy for a day or two, a week or two, and she's known this other guy for years. So how women perceive your value and what your actual value is always different in reality. So this idea that everyone is just an interchangeable resume, and if you just go make more money, girls are just gonna like you more, is half true at best, and an oversimplification of what dating in the real world actually looks like. Because if it did look like that, we would just hand our resumes to women. There'd be no talking, there'd be no charisma, no need to develop game or conversational skills or social skills to provide value. Because again, learning game, learning how to communicate your value is just as important as your value to women. And lots of broke guys who don't have much going for them right now, can be considered high value if they communicate to the girl and they make it obvious that, like, hey, I may be broke right now, but I'm grinding, I'm working on myself, and I have a big, bright future ahead of me if I keep on my trajectory. The fact that you are on this trajectory to becoming a high value man is basically the same as already being a high value man to begin with. And I know the high value man term has been kind of thrown around and kind of a little cringe now, but you know what I mean. We need to use terms that everyone understands. So if it sounds a little cringe, I get it. But again, I made over 400 videos with Zeus that contributed to this phenomenon. So I'm to blame for the proliferation of this kind of cringe exploitation of the word high value in alpha male.
For them, but won't let go of the ball that they want you to throw.
Honestly, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but what's your take on fitness chicks?
Valid.
Like,
As they're
superior to
top.
all women.
Top of the line.
Agreed.
The reason these guys come off as extra cringe with their podcast is because they're not exactly super charismatic. These guys aren't particularly super high value from what you can tell. Their charisma, they don't seem confident. They're just a bunch of guys talking about male and female gender roles without really filling the typical male gender role. They're not big and strong. They're not already rich. Their social value in terms of their charisma, how charismatic they are, isn't really there. So this is why it comes off and feels more cringe. And this is kind of what makes some of these alpha male podcasts cringe, is you have these guys talking about how men and women should be and getting angry about it, when it's like, maybe you just get no bitches and maybe that's why you're so mad, because you're so uptight and always complaining about what men and women should do instead of just having good game, having good social skills, knowing how to go to the flow and talk with women and actually get them to like you and see your value instead of trying to yell at them and show them your resume and tell them and scream at them as to why you're high value. Why not just be high value and communicate it in a way that's subtle and socially calibrated and not weird and overly simplistic and abrasive? And this is kind of why these alpha male podcasts can come off as cringe, because you kind of have guys who are LARPing or pretending to be this alpha machismo macho guy, when it's like, if that's not you, that's not you, right? You're much better off being congruent to who you are, because at least it's natural. And again, being on the path to getting there is just as good as actually being there. So pretending to be this high value ultra macho guy when you're not is really just kind of cringe.
Chicks are superior to to any woman.
Is this the whole conversation? I don't think a single sentence was formed between the three of them. Just because you have thoughts sometimes doesn't mean that we need to hear them. It just needs to be a little more articulate. I don't think you can get away with talking like this in any other setting.
And she's making a good point, right? She's making the same point that I just did, that you can't just say something and not say it correctly or in an eloquent way and expect people to take you seriously or believe what you're saying. The believability of what you're saying is based on the congruence of how you say it, which is why if you're not confident in something, if you don't really live something, you probably shouldn't be talking about it with such strong conviction or fake conviction, because especially women have way better intuitive social skills than men by far. They can smell the incongruency from a mile away, and it's very unattractive.
Lets herself go after I have kids with her. If I'm gonna tell her once, if you don't get your together, I still want to be sexually attracted to my wife, my spouse. If you can't do that, I'm out.
Is this too much? Who are you asking? Are you asking me? I'm just a woman.
This is definitely a hot take, and it depends on what you value in the relationship. If you go into a relationship valuing the physical attractiveness of your partner, which a lot of people value that, both men and women both value that a ton, then he may or may not have a point there. For example, if a girl gets into a relationship with a guy and he has a six-pack, 6'1", weighs 180 pounds, lean, chiseled bodybuilder build, and then a year later he weighs 250 pounds, fat, 30% body fat, completely let himself go, started smoking weed, playing video games, and doing nothing with his life, she would be well within her right to leave him or tell him, hey, like, if you don't turn this shit around, like, this is not what I signed up for. If you don't turn your shit around, like, I'm leaving. In the same way, if a man meets a woman and she lets herself go in one way or another, whether it's emotionally, mentally, the way she carries herself, the person that she was, if she goes in a direction that he no longer likes, you're never forced to stay with anybody. I know we have all these toxic ideas of what love is and isn't supposed to be. Love is difficult. You have to fight for love. It's hard. You know, you should love and accept your partner for how they are no matter what. These are kind of idealistic, romanticized notions that we see in movies and stories that don't really live up to reality. The fact is, you need to be attracted to your partner in one way or another, whether it's mentally, their personality, physically, and if those things change, you're never forced to be with anyone. And everyone intuitively knows this because the divorce rate in the US is something like over 50%. So you're never required to stay with someone no matter what. However, I think the way he said it is what gets people angry, because if someone said, hey, like, if we get into a relationship and I'm working a job and I'm providing for the family, me, you, and the kids, and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, and then a year later I quit my job, I do nothing, I sit around on the couch all day, you would be well within your right to just fucking leave that guy, because he's not holding up his end of the deal, and what you signed up for in the beginning of the relationship is no longer the same. Things change, relationships evolve, and you're never required to stay with anyone for any reason. However, it sounds douchier when this guy is saying it and you know he's kind of LARPing as this alpha macho guy, and when it's in the context of, hey, you just gave birth to my son, you better hop on the treadmill, 1 hour after you just gave birth. That's kind of the frame he came at it from. So of course it got people mad, but there was some truth to what he was saying. It's just, again, not as simplistic as he would lead you to believe.
I don't know anything. Tyler and Tyler 2.0 and Tyler the Third didn't even have the confidence to leave the comments on this video, so I doubt that he would actually have the confidence to say this to his wife. Women don't owe you attraction. If you're struggling to find your wife attractive after she brings your child into the world, take a step back, maybe have a bath, look at yourself.
And this is what makes this funny about this girl reacting to this guy, is she knows that the congruence isn't there. It doesn't seem believable when the guy says it. When he's saying, he's like, if my wife, looking to his friends for validation to make sure they're on board with what he's saying. He's like, if my wife, if she lets herself go, oh man, I'm gonna give her a big warning and she better listen. It's like, you're not that guy, bro. You're not that guy. I'm sorry. You're not that guy. I hate to break it to you. And she, as a woman, she can intuitively see this. She's a relatively smart girl. She can see this immediately. Women can intuitively understand when a guy is really about it. or when he's faking it.
In the mirror, and if Zac Efron isn't staring back at you, consider maybe shutting the fuck up.
Say, if my wife...
She also makes a good point here in the sense that if you are holding your wife to, or your girlfriend or your significant other to certain attractiveness and beauty standards, you better be holding up your own beauty and attractiveness standards as well. The fact that you're a man doesn't automatically mean that, you know, you can do whatever you want and she has to stay with you. But if she gains, you know, a couple pounds, you immediately break up with her. Again, whatever you feel feels best in your relationship. You're never required to stay with or be with anyone. However, you know, if your value as a man decreases as the relationship goes on, then the girl should fucking leave your ass too. And if as a woman, if your value in the relationship decreases as the relationship goes on, for whatever reason, you're not holding up your end of the deal or you're no longer doing the things you once did, then man should fucking leave your ass too.
Lets herself go. If I'm going to tell her, one.
This is so bizarre because it's like peacocking. Like he's trying to match the energy and misogyny of his friends, but to impress them. It's more important to him that his buddies think he's an alpha tough guy than it is to actually have a healthy relationship with a woman. Is this how you operate in a social setting? Like at a bar, you have a wingman, but he's just there to help you make friends with fellow alpha men?
And again, she smells this. She can see it immediately. She's smart enough to know that and pick up on the same thing that I did, that this guy is really just saying this to impress his friend, and what he's trying to do is boost his own status by saying, oh, in this hypothetical situation, I would do this, this, and this. And that's why it comes off as hyper cringe, and they turned off the comments because everyone can see it from a mile away. This is the thing that I dislike about the red pill or the rhetoric around alpha males and high value men. Although there's a lot of value in it, and most of it is valuable, and it can transform the lives of men. It transformed my life. It can go to extremes and make it predicated on ego and what your value is compared to another person. It's like your value compared to another person isn't really all that interesting, because all that matters is what your value is and the potential of what it possibly can be. And when you get into these value battles, what they really are is status seeking games. You're trying to seek status over one person or boost your ego over one person. And unless you're in a situation where the perception of who you are and your value is very important, you're kind of just getting into a dick measuring contest that goes nowhere. You're just trying to flex on your buddies. And it's like, listen, if this isn't someone you're trying to communicate your value to for a business deal or to make you more money, or a girl you're trying to impress, the whole value thing and how you measure up next to people doesn't really matter. I promise you guys, there is no universal scorecard out there in the universe that ranks everyone's value on a scoreboard. And if you respond to a girl one too many times, your value goes down and hers goes above you. And now it's like, fuck, her value went above mine. And now like my ego can't take it. It's like, dude, take a chill pill. Relax. I swear it's not that deep. It's not that serious. Just take a chill pill, relax. Remember, the reason we're trying to increase our value as men, as people, is to live better lives, not to fucking stress ourselves out and have these crazy ego battles and turn every little interaction into a mini ego battle, because it's stressful, it's cringe, it's tiring, and it's not even productive to your goal.
I'm not a scientist searching for a cure for cancer, but I do have a podcast where I slut shame women with my bros. So I'm basically the greatest person to ever exist. I wish I could say I'm surprised that this is the mindset of Tyler III, but it does take a large amount of delusion to produce these freezing cold takes that they've been putting up. So I'd be lying if I said that. I know what I said earlier about this being a new epidemic, but I will be starting my own podcast. You're welcome.
Okay, it looks like the video's over. This is crazy, because usually she has some pretty bad takes. I clicked around on some of her videos. Her takes aren't always the best, but you know these alpha male podcasts getting out of control when she starts making sense. But that is it for today's video. If you want to see me react to something else, let me know in the comments below. This has been a lot of fun. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you check out all the links in the description to see how you can keep up with me, Zeus, and the rest of the fun stuff we're doing. And yeah, make sure you get your value up, bro. Get your value up.